Coming to you live from deep within a leafy, slightly dry, folly sort of radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the outright Keck apocalypse.
It's a pumpkin
the
spice.
Few, the brave, the bitchy.
Pumpkin spice is back. Pumpkin spice.
It's pumpkin spice season! Yay!
Yes.
The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie alpha hordes with
pumpkin spice Keck apocalypse.
Yes.
Pumpkin spice Keck apocalypse with Sam Cedar, Schools, Tim Pool, and Fresh and Fit on true alphaness. Rantzerker number 180.
Mm-hmm.
I am your host, Allison, and with me today is Brian and Karen, and we shall be your conductors.
Your Charon. Is that the name of the Charon?
Yeah,
Charon.
We'll
the horse?
No. Charon is he's the demon that you cross the river Styx in his
the demigod
in his boat.
Not demon.
He's like the ferryman. He's the
Oh,
ferryman to the
okay.
underworld.
All right. Because
Exactly.
people
Okay,
like
so
to
we
name
will
their
be-
horses after him.
Yeah.
And I think it's Charon. I think
Okay,
it's a
so
hard
we will
C.
be
Charon
the
strong.
dude with the boat, taking you into the dark waters of the underworld. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know. This guy looks so smug, and he looks like the last person who has any right to be smug.
If you remove
just
the
looking
smug
at him
from his body, if you removed it, it's like this. He is composed entirely of bonds
soy?
of smugness.
Yeah.
No. Like the well, yes, soy, of course, but the smug is what's holding the soy molecules together. So if you remove the charge of smug, he would just disappear in a puff of
Soy.
talcum powder. And soy, yeah.
Yeah.
plant-based talcum powder. Yeah.
All right.
Plant-based talcum powder. I didn't know there was such a thing. Okay.
There is.
I'll do the
There
thing.
probably isn't.
You should
but-
probably do the things. Yeah, there probably is somewhere, I'm sure.
Okay, so I once again am opening up the
Oh,
fundraiser-
cornstarch. Cornstarch.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like this is an old cook's trick. When the kitchen gets really sweaty and your balls are like sticking to your clothes, you just sprinkle some cornstarch in your underpants.
And you make biscuits.
It works. No, and you don't make biscuits with it. That's disgusting. You'd need to add some butter and flour for that.
Yeah, just pour it down there. Okay, never
And
mind.
sugar.
All right, strike that thought. Okay. So, once again, I'm opening up the fundraiser for editing and producing my novel, The Captive Eye. If you'd like to help out, and it's very appreciated if you would, I might do some arm twisting at the hour. Please go to feedthebadger.com/I, that's EYE, and throw a few shekels in the hat. I have about 645 for this sub goal, because I sort of divide them up. And it'd be very appreciated. I'm getting close to the next stage of the editing. Now that I've received my developmental edit back from my editor, and then we'll be moving forward from there. Okay, so once again, it's feedthebadger.com/IEYE to help me out with that. And also, if you want to send us a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Any point throughout the show, or even after the show, if you want to give us a tip or you want to have a comment on this particular show, feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, well, I guess let's get right into it. People are like, oh, I can't see the picture best because I'm not displaying it. But now I am. So relax. So now you can look at the smug face. Okay, so I will be reading your super chows and super chats when you put them through. I did get one right at the beginning of the show, so I might as well read it now. Albert Nated Retro gives us $2 and says, Sam teaching a course in alpha male is hilarious. Thank you, Albert. Well, he is the sea lion. He is the male sea lion, essentially calling all the other sea lions to task, or whatever the manatee, whatever it is that you would consider the bull elephant.
No,
Yeah.
elephant on the
Yeah,
beach.
the silverback beating his chest.
it's what he imagines himself to be, but he's not that. He's got this one chick who's passively attractive, who's sitting next to him and willing to actually listen to him. And all the rest of the girls are like, well, you know, I like what he has to say, but I wouldn't fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not alpha.
Well,
I don't. Alpha
isn't.
Okay, alpha is about your ability to get laid. That is what it is. As a male, it's about your ability to get laid. And I'm sorry, but I don't see Sam Seder as... I see him as one of those surprise alphas who springs surprise sex on women who should be grateful. You know, like a lot of... you remember a lot of feminist men, you know, they end up.
Can you imagine being entrapped in those smug tentacles, like one of those clownfish and an anemone?
Yeah, they end up being like, you know, they're like, oh, I'm a defender of women on social media, and oh, you gotta be not rapey, and like, and then you find out like 2 years later that they were sexually harassing a bunch of women on social media.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Although I would maintain it's actually like it's actually a combination of these guys tending to be that way, and also these women tending to take everything, you know, the wrong way, or making allegations that are baseless.
Sure,
I think it's a mix of both of those things. Did you hear about the guy from that '70s show that got like 30 years or some crazy shit like that for a supposed allegation of rape 20 years ago, where there was no evidence? The guy, Masterson, I think his name is. He was on that '70s show. Danny Masterson. Yeah. He was convicted of
Jesus
rape
Christ
20 years after the fact. No evidence. I mean, he's done. You know, he's done. I get, maybe he should have been like, he should have like worked at a hospital and killed a bunch of babies. He probably would have got a much lower, a much more gentler sentence, you know? But yeah, so
if he just killed one baby,
and I think
he would have gotten like 6 months probation.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it's
kill one baby and get a sex change.
I'm just saying it's an example because he probably would have called himself a feminist. So I think that on the one hand, yes, you know, male feminist types are probably, you know, using the sort of language of feminism to get closer to women and to try to, you know, get in their pants.
Fuckers.
Yeah, they're sneaky fuckers, but also feminist women are dangerous to be around. So I mean, you know, so it's both of these things, right? You're basically giving yourself like multiple penalties on your charisma check. So I wouldn't do it.
When you create a social position based on lies and hate, you don't attract the best people.
There you go. And just to be clear to the audience who may not have heard the term sneaky fucker, it is actually an industry term, not in the men's rights movement, but in the evolutionary biology movement, to describe males who present as behaviorally and phenotypically female-ish in order to blend in among harems of some other dude's females and surprise them with some surprise sex.
Yep. All right, but anyway, let's get into the video. And I think where we left off, it was about to get good. So in case you guys need, well, again, like the commentary gets spicier.
What do you mean by good? You mean it's gonna make me angrier?
Yeah,
it's gonna make me more annoyed.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Fine. I've only been up since 4.
It's fine.
Recovering from yesterday's migraine.
Maybe you'll sleep
better.
I've been getting up at 4 a lot.
Me too. I was for a while.
With a headache. God damn, that's really unpleasant.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I hate waking up with a headache.
You know what the worst is? Is when you wake up at 4 and you have a headache and you know it's like a real headache, right? And then you're just like, but I don't want to get up just yet to take a pill. I can't be bothered. So you go back to sleep and you wake up 2 hours later and it's like way worse.
Yeah, it's like shouting in your ear.
And you're like, why didn't I just get up and take a pill at 4?
Past self, you betrayed me.
That's right.
Future self.
Past self betrayed future self. It's always the way.
How is this man married?
Yeah, supposedly. Well, actually, I heard he's going through a divorce though, or was.
Oh well, that's
when
a
he was
shocker.
married at one point. But I'm just. Could you imagine feeding this face mashed potatoes? just sliding a plate full of food towards it.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway.
I just don't understand how he doesn't understand the concept of a flattering haircut. So, but never mind.
Well, okay. So, just in case you guys need a little bit of backstory, because we did start this in the last one. So, this is the Majority Report. Sam Seder and what's this chick's name? I forget. Doesn't matter. Her name is irrelevant.
Just call her Resident Bitch A.
Yeah.
Or just call her Sam's lamprey.
I mean,
do they know something we don't know about a woman?
She's just attached to his ass.
Anyway,
her entire existence is predicated on his existence. So.
Yeah. So they are commenting. They are commenting on a clip. We're like 2 levels of reply in. So these people are replying to an episode of the Timcast IRL podcast, which is a live show that Tim Pool does, where he had Fresh and Fit on, and they were discussing, I don't know, women or whatever. And Sam Seder and this woman, Emma Vigland, that's her name, are replying to that with their own sort of feminist, progressive takes. And we're basically at the point where Sam Seder just finished taking a shit on Jordan Peterson, who has nothing to do with this, but fuck him anyways, right?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, nothing to do with this, but he's basically the devil because basically, look, if you want to be hated by people like Sam Seder, just attract an audience of men. That's all it takes. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Just have an audience of men. And you're basically saying, look, I don't want you guys Minecrafting yourselves. I don't want you guys to feel despair. I want to help you. And Sam Seder will come a knocking and he'll say, what are you doing? Why are you trying to save these people from offing themselves? You should not be doing that. You should be ashamed. You obviously hate women. So that's where we are right now. All right. So let's play the next bit of this.
If this is the case and these guests are who they say they are, they're the ones sleeping with all the women, which I don't think is what's happening.
They don't. And I also just want to say, too, notice how Tim works backwards from him, like moving to West Virginia and the compound.
Right,
it's like
exactly.
in cities, it's so disgusting and depraved. Come to my compound and you'll have sushi and then maybe we can.
I just want to say I was being ironic and verbalizing
what
them.
the hell are you thinking there, lady? Is that really what Tom Pool has on offer?
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool. So, sorry. Guys.
Okay, and I say we call her Polyp.
I should clarify. Well, explain that Emma Vigland was on Tim Pool's live show, so she knows about where he lives. I don't think that he blindfolds people before he brings them to his compound in West Virginia yet, but she knows where he is. So she's sort of trying to speak from experience of having been there. Although she got absolutely owned by actual Justice Warrior, but that's another story. Anyway, go ahead, Allison.
Okay. She's insinuating that he's inviting people back to his place to have sex with.
That's okay. That's a pretty good instinct. Let's hear more because it does. There is.
Wait. But I'm just curious if there's any basis for this, or if somebody is receiving messages from her clam
outer space or
no, not even outer space. I mean a little bit lower, Karen. Somebody's receiving
yeah. Okay, you mean her clitoris is talking to her.
Yeah, just in that moment you popped in and came out her mouth. All right,
let's play some more. I skipped ahead a little bit, but
the whole deal. And so the solution to me, I mean, it really, we could probably bring this all the way back to when they got the vote. And then the whole thing where, 50
No,
years,
way before
it's
that.
true.
Before they got the vote.
Mm-hmm.
Before they got the vote, women had an immense amount of power.
Yep.
Social power, political power, economic power, right? Women didn't need the vote. Mary Harris frickin' Jones, Mother Jones, said women didn't need the vote. They didn't need it. It wouldn't be of any real use to them because they had plenty of fucking economic, political, and social power just the way things were.
I want to. What was it the guy said? I mean, because feels a little disjointed. Did
you want me to go back a little bit before when they were talking?
Maybe don't skip so much because it's just really freaking confusing what's going on.
All right.
Go back to the clitoral moment.
I did.
We got it.
They're literally giving girls honey packs and condoms.
Y'all are just thinking too short term, and too self-focused in my opinion. Like, so right on, bro. I'm thinking in generations, right? Like, how long did it take us to get to this point as a society? All the things which a lot of it's true, and you cannot argue with a lot of the points just made. 100%.
Centuries.
It's a big.
So he's talking there. Okay, so in case you're wondering,
how did we get here? How
did we end up in this position?
Well, honestly, it really starts at the end of the Bronze Age.
Okay, well, I'm willing to go back at least to the point where you can present clearly documented evidence, right, of the fact that feminism was never not rotten, right? And that is Mary Wollstonecraft, Fournier or Fourier or whatever his fucking name was.
Charles Fourier, I think.
Yeah. Okay, the guy who originated the term feminism. And you look at those things, those forms of advocacy, those ways of describing reality that were completely fucking delusional and one-sided, right? It started well before the suffragettes. It started before the frickin' tender years doctrine. Right? It started in the midst of when they began to dismantle coverture. Right? Coverture was the thing that kept husbands and wives together raising their children and kept nuclear families together. And as Vivek Ramaswamy, who I would totally vote for president if Trump wasn't running and if I wasn't a Canadian, although maybe I can head down to Minnesota and vote for one of them, because they're gonna completely fuck up their mail-in ballots, and they're voting. You guys have the sloppiest fucking voting system in the fucking world, America. Thank you very much. You'd never be able to get away with voter fraud in Canada. It just does not happen.
I mean, you don't have to. In Canada, you just get like the first the eastern provinces to vote, and everybody else is just doesn't matter.
Yeah, we have our freaking left coast too. It's not on the coast. It's in central Canada. It's Quebec and Ontario, and they decide for everybody. And then the rest of us forward a portion of our incomes to those provinces in equalization
and they always
payments.
vote for
That's
that.
like super awesome, and they always do. It's
and they always vote for that.
Rising thing, but the person who
would vote for if Trump
there
was
are
running
no dead
really
people. There are no dead people voting in Canada. The only dead people who vote in Canada are people who ordered. Who applied for a mail-in ballot with their ID number and that photo of their picture ID and a signature or someone to vouch for them and asked for one to be sent to their home address, okay? And then their death certificate was not filed with the government. Because if their death certificate was filed, they can't be registered. They cannot remain registered to vote. right? They will not receive that frickin' ballot in the mail, right? Like, you guys need some kind of fucking system, okay?
Believe me.
That eliminates the cheating.
I don't have any control over that, but
very good point.
I agree.
Very good point on the American electoral system. Can we go back to the person you would vote for if Trump wasn't running and what he said about
Vivek Ramaswamy. He says that the nuclear family is the most superior form of governance in the entirety of human history.
Yep.
It is the ultimate
really interesting?
in local government and human autonomy.
It's and
we've dismantled it in favor of centralized national frickin' autocracies.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting is that literally every culture outside the West does not agree with the diversity woke stuff. The rural areas in the West do not agree with the diversity woke stuff. Most men in the West who are actually maintaining the West's infrastructure do not agree with the diversity woke stuff. And I don't mean being kind to people who are different than you and not supporting discrimination. I mean creating these golden calves based on victimhood. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. So the only people that really support this are incredibly privileged, wealthy,
educated single women.
Single women in urban spaces and some men who sort of exist there as well.
Well,
like
the
minority of men.
Sam Seder, right?
These are the only people. These are the only people who support this. Of course, they have the rest of the world in an iron grip because they have that much power. Women have that much power.
Well, I was like, we should call this chick a polyp. Okay. Because there's for something like a sea anemone or whatever, anemone. You have two stages, or like that class of animal. You have two phenotypes, right? One is polyp, and it's attached to something, and it lives there, and it just sucks stuff in. And the other is like jellyfish, and they're free floating. They're the Medusa stage, right? Right? She's a polyp on Sam Seder right now. She's just looking to become a Medusa, right? She's looking for her opportunity to stop sucking nutrients from him, right? But he's like the rock that she's attached herself to. She will become a Medusa the moment that she can, right? But until then, he's happy to have her on him because, hey, it's like a symbiotic kind of thing, right? He gets something from her, she gets something from him.
He gets emotional validation.
Yes,
and she's validating his words, basically.
It's basically symbiotic parasitism. That's what that is. She's a polyp.
Okay, well.
Wow. With fronds like these, who needs an enemy?
With fronds. Oh, God. With fronds like these, who needs anemones?
Okay. Did you look that up just
now?
No,
I know that line. It's from Finding Nemo. It's.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.
I just had to. All right, but let's continue. Let's continue.
I wouldn't say centuries. I would say, well, maybe overall, but you look at the past, 50 years or so, and you can see the writing on the wall of what has happened to the nuclear family, what's happened to society, and the way women are viewed, the whole deal. And so, the solution to me,
all right, I'm pausing there. Now he gets into basically Sam Seder is going to try and say, "Oh, you guys want to take away the vote?" Like it's this terrible thing, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, maybe." I'm sorry, but I'm kind of with Pearl on this one. I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. So
me too. I've never actually come out and said we should, but I've never considered it something to not consider.
Well, I was gonna say it's not like a conversation that is so like beyond the pale that no one should have it. That's what I think, right?
Yeah.
It's like, because
Yeah.
when people like this say, oh, you want to take away the vote, you're supposed to shut down, immediately be like, oh no, I'm oppressing the women. Like,
they wanna-
they want to shut you down by saying this is absolutely absurd. Do you know what year
Not
it is?
absurd.
You know,
Not absurd, evil.
yeah,
Evil.
and
not-
evil. It's evil, yeah. You're stupid
Yeah, back in
and
the
evil.
1930s, you'd have been called absurd, but
Yeah.
now it's like evil. How dare you? How
Yeah.
could you even think of doing
Yeah.
such a thing?
Exactly.
To oppress half the population,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like,
Okay.
oh my god! But,
All right, but
you know, it is.
I'm
It
going
is
to point something
something
out with taking away the vote, women taking away the vote. And this is to Pearl, this is to everybody who's arguing it. And I'm not saying this as like, oh my god, you can't argue it. But this is the issue. In order to get rid of, or to remove women's vote, women would have to choose to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
And that by that point, if women are have such a sense of responsibility to society, then it may be a moot point.
Mhm.
So we
Well,
either
yeah.
It may
you know,
be.
Yeah, no,
it may
we
be.
either ride this train to the end, or we figure our shit out, and that's where I'm at. So
Yeah,
it's
well-
like we can talk about getting rid of women's vote, but like I said, and I don't know why women are so hysterical about that. It's like, well, when I look at it and people are like, well, we could get rid of women's vote. I'm like, well, you'd have to convince women first.
Women and half of all men would have to vote to do that. They would
Yes.
have to opt to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's going to be quite the task. And by the time you've convinced women that their social responsibility towards the world or towards society has not been expressed in the way that they've been voting, and women are like, oh yeah, we need to take responsibility for that. As soon as you convince women of that, or you somehow
or you convince 25% of all men and 25% of women to give up their right
Yeah.
to vote, right? To give
then
up women's
at
right to
that
vote.
point,
Then you've
Well,
actually got responsible women who are willing
women.
to think of other people
yes,
when they
exactly,
vote.
who aren't going to just want to arrange their lives at the expense of every goddamn other person on the planet. It's not just
Yeah.
men in West that Western women are exploiting. It's
Mhm.
everybody else on the planet, and they're getting
Oh, yeah.
fucking tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The BRIC nations are fucking sick of Western women and the exploitation that they're engaging in order to range their society. Like, honestly, we do have a responsibility to at least maintain the integrity of the world reserve currency. And I say that as, like, I know that Canada's just
Somebody who
basically a
thinks-
lamprey.
Yeah, but somebody who thinks that like the petrodollar was the worst idea ever.
But
But
at this point, that's what it is.
yeah,
And the
it's-
integrity of the dollar means maintaining productivity. It means maintaining a healthy society. And this isn't just for, I don't know, traditional people in the West to fulfill their desires. This is to make sure that the people who rely on the dollar around the world being stable can continue to rely on it so that their economies maintain
don't
and
crash.
grow.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
don't
yeah. No,
crash.
and you look at too, right? You look at oh god, I listened to CBC radio in the car all the time because I like to keep an eye on the crazies, right? And they were talking about reporting that there's an aggressive campaign to recruit nurses from the Philippines to come and cover the nursing shortage in Canada, right? Well, why do we have a nursing shortage in Canada? Because of probably because of vaccine mandates that not everybody was willing to, tolerate. But and we've always had, a shortage of medical services here in Canada because it's all government funded and it's all government operated, and so it's like inefficient and stupid most of the time. But so we're aggressively recruiting nurses from the Philippines. Well, Philippine taxpayers subsidized the education and the training of those nurses, right? That's what they did. They provided schooling, K-12 and university, to train those nurses. And they did that so that, like, the whole
be scalped.
argument for subsidizing education for publicly funded education is that you get a benefit yourself out of that. And now these nurses are going to go fuck off to the West to fill positions that we don't want to fill.
Yeah, and nobody's pointing this out.
They're gonna. And do you think healthcare delivery of healthcare in the Philippines right now, before we've poached all these fucking nurses, is like superior to the healthcare delivery in Canada?
Nobody wants to talk about this. This is exploitation. It's colonialism.
Yes, except if we move them here and we let them keep their culture, you know, and their hairstyles and stuff, then it's not colonialism and it's not exploitation.
We're not destroying their culture back, you know, their ability to live the way they
Yeah, we're not destroying the nuclear families back home.
Yeah, it's just insane, and we're doing this because we are. Oh my goodness!
Hedonistic. That's my dog.
Hedonistic. It's not Jojo. Sorry, I implicated Jojo.
No, Jojo's not howling. He doesn't do that.
Okay, and Skippy I think is on the
bed. He has an ear-piercing bay, but okay, woo! All right, let's play. Well, do you want to make your? I want to play more of the video because we got a ways to go, and I feel like.
All right, shut up, Mrs. Wu.
You want to hear their point about the vote before we talk more about the vote? Okay, let's play more.
Really, we could probably bring this all the way back to when they got the vote. And then the whole thing where, you know, 50 years, it's true, like 55 years ago, my mom could not get a credit card in her name. You could not vote in the city of Worcester under your maiden name.
Why would you want to vote 70s. Under your maiden name?
I imagine maybe that.
Yeah, I know. Like, what does that even? What does that even mean? Matter? Yeah. Well, no, because you see, the assumption is that if women need to have the vote, so they can vote against the interests of their husbands, because there's no other reason to do it, unless, of course, you're single. In which case, a single woman votes in her own best interest. By the way, this has made single women into a block because they all vote the same way.
But he's saying
about the maiden name. I know.
If you have a maiden name, right? No, that's just your last name, unless you're married, right?
Yeah.
And if you're married, you have a maiden name and a married name.
Well, what if that means you can vote twice then? Is that what he's suggesting?
That's what I'm suggesting, right? And it's a secret fucking ballot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like I don't go. I don't. Matter. When me and Mike go to vote, right? What do? Right? We go. We stand together at the counter, and we get our wonderful voter cards all checked out, and our IDs and everything. Because you have to show ID in Canada, because we're like super backward that way, and have secure elections and shit. But and then he goes into one booth and I go into the other.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter if you vote under your maiden name or your married name.
As long as you're only voting under one.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you have to choose or you're not going to be counted properly. So this is a non-issue. Also, I just want to point out that he looks like he's dying a little inside right here for some reason. I just like, suddenly the smug is gone and there's this like deep sense of what the fuck have I done? Maybe this is his soul briefly. His soul briefly shining through.
His eyes look like orange seeds.
They do. Isn't it also the case that a woman's maiden name is just her father's name anyway?
Yes.
And that you haven't actually gotten rid of the men in your but in most cases a woman's maiden name is just the name that her mother took, unless I don't know how many times we can hyphenate a last name. I guess we'll see. But
my husband has a monstrosity of a hyphenated last name. He's the only one with that last name on the entire planet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can guarantee you. And
I just want to get it back on topic. It's
horrible.
Yeah, we're gonna get back.
But it's because his mom wanted to keep her last name, and fine, good on her, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was formally married. She kept her last name. It's all good. It's all perfectly fine. But yeah, no. And my two sisters both kept their last names, their maiden names. I changed my maiden name, and then when I got divorced, I didn't change it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually born a Lorenzen.
Oh, go ahead, Allison. What
I
were you
just
gonna
want
say?
to point out that there's like the chemistry between these two people seems to be.
Well, look, they're both looking in opposite directions, like they can't stand each other.
I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know if chemistry is the right word.
Did somebody fart?
Anyway, I just wanted to
What?
point out he looks like he looks like he's dying a little inside suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she farted.
Maybe he did. Okay, so I got a super chow from
cool.
Tom Poole. Tom Poole gives us $5
Oh,
and
cool.
says,
I
Tom-
think
yeah,
I
you
think
get it.
that
Love of
name was
God.
created in the moment.
Yeah, I think it was. And he says, Tom Jacuzzi wears a gallon hat to hide his robust head of hair while talking about peaceful civil divorce. Oh, it's called LOL Tom Poole. I'm sorry, LOL Tom Poole. Thank you for that. And Albert Data Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says, nice women don't want the vote. And then little X, like emoji, but it's an X. All right, let's play some more of this.
Well, I'll be frank. When I see what women have done, I'm like, yeah, I can 100% see the argument for taking away the vote. But the problem is the logistics of it at this point.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
there's way
no.
it
I
can
mean,
be done.
I get it 100%.
But
But I think that wanting to
say something that
wanting to table the discussion, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's what it needs to be put out there so it's in people's brains, even if it doesn't like result in anything. When everything
vote
falls
is supposed
apart, then people be like, you know what? I remember this one time when somebody said about the
Maybe we shouldn't
vote.
have given women a vote.
giving half the vote to half the population that isn't responsible to it. There's a few things I wanted to say though. Like, first of all, I would say that the moral foundation of the society that we now enjoy was probably put in place by the Christian, in many cases, the Christian women in like during the time when it was being persecuted. So it is possible for women to take responsibility in the context of an ethical system for a society or for a community. It is possible. It's just that it's not really happening now, and the discussion isn't being had because we just allow women to do whatever they want. And what a surprise! That's possibly the most it's the most biggest money spinner. It's in structuring society. It's just give women as much reins over spending money, and they will. And
yeah.
Especially if they're single.
I mean, behaving ethically with love and care for your civilization does not require you to have the vote. So anyway, it just requires right action.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but
no, I know, but I'm just pointing it out that like those things are not mutually exclusive. So,
and I'm pointing out that it probably is possible.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to look in the future, but it's like this. What we're enjoying today is in part because of the women who perpetuated the ethical system that underpins it. So, I mean, it's not entirely improbable. We're just really far from it, and we have had lots and lots of generations of moving from a spiritual ideal, like the ideal of women submitting to a greater spiritual power, to women submitting to a greater financial power, essentially,
or a greater biological power, where it's like, well, I just really want to have sex, and I don't care about the consequences. Or I really want to have babies, and I don't need a man to consent to having a baby in order to make one. So I'm just going to do that. And it's not going to really disrupt my life that much because I will always have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to point out in regards to the vote, because I've been trying to keep it to that topic, I think Karen can comment on the credit card thing, because I think you understand that better than I do. But recently I found out, just hold a moment. Recently I found out that the reason why women got the vote, at least in the UK and probably in the States as well, is because lawmakers wanted to thank them for taking over the factory jobs during World War I, for making the sacrifice and taking over that work was extremely dangerous, in many cases disgusting and risky and unpleasant work. And they wanted to give them a thank you. So they wanted to recognize women's sacrifice for society. That's why they got the vote. Now, we can argue that sacrifice was nowhere near what men sacrificed.
Yeah, no.
But at the same time, the real reason why women got the vote was because women sacrificed in the factories for the war effort, and the politicians wanted to reward them too. Had nothing to do with feminism.
No, it didn't.
No
it
woman.
Didn't.
Feminists, in fact, and suffragettes, in fact, retarded the process by acting like frickin' terrorists and killing people.
Yes. And the like most of the discussion at least in the UK around the vote, the Representation of the People Act, right, of 1918, I believe it was, which is the anniversary of, which is when women got the vote. Well, that was centered around, if he's fit to fight, he's fit to vote. And it was because more than half of the men who died in World War I did not have the right to vote, either because they weren't old enough yet, because the vote was 21 and up, or they didn't own their property in their own names, right? And so these men went and died in trenches. And they were like, basically the discussion, the debate in Parliament was, there are no class divides when you're in a trench. There are no barons and there are no peasants. There are just soldiers fighting for the country. And so if he's fit to fight, he's fit to vote. And so we let all men in, and we let women over 35 into the franchise as well. Right? Why women over 35? Because they knew so many men had died in World War I that if they enfranchised all women 21 and over, right, they would be 65% of the voters. And they did not want to make women a supermajority voting bloc.
Right after men had died to protect the society that granted those rights.
After a bunch of them had died.
Yeah, this is like, I was on Twitter, of course, and I saw some feminists talk about how women's rights, women gave women their own rights. I'm like, no, dear, women don't give women their own rights. The men who are willing to and will be forced to protect a society that grants people rights, they're the ones who are ultimately responsible. They're the ones who are maintained. Like, it doesn't matter what rights you think you have if you are unable to protect the society that grants those rights.
Yep. No, and
maintain it.
Here we are more than 100 years later, and women still are not subject to selective service in the U.S. They're still not part of any kind of military draft legislation that's a twinkle in anybody's eye in the UK. We're on the verge of fucking World War III, right? And nobody is talking about drafting women at all.
Not even to factory positions, or nursing positions, or doctor positions for that matter.
Or baby-making positions.
Like that would ever be a thing. If men made babies, believe me, there would be a baby draft. But what really astounds me is that women will say we have a right to these rights, and then take absolutely no responsibility for how they're maintained, and how their lifestyle is maintained, and preserving them. No responsibility to make sure that the society that grants those rights continues to be able to protect and provide for itself. It's unbelievable.
The society doesn't grant rights. It's guarantees like a woman, rights.
It's like some kind of, like, I don't know, Victorian upper class woman with a horse and saying, well, this horse owes me, its labor, and then beats the shit out of it when it doesn't. It's like,
and doesn't feed it. Yeah,
it doesn't feed it. It's like, that's you, ladies. the society that you enjoy is the society that you enjoy, the comforts that you enjoy, and the rights that you enjoy come from a society, from our society. It manufactures it for you, regardless of how much you bitch and moan. You have the most comfortable, safe, and liberated lives of any group of people in all of human history. And that is thanks to the society you're a part of, and the society you feel absolutely no obligation to maintain. None whatsoever. Does that seem fair? Because I can tell you, there are a lot of people around the world who look at that and say, what the fuck is your problem? Like, I've heard how they describe Western women, the attitude of Western women, how they act and conduct themselves, and how they project themselves when they go outside of their own countries. And it's repulsive. I
got a call when I did my call-in show on Friday. A guy called me from Zambia. And he was talking about how, you know, like, how essentially this kind of feminism is coming to Zambia. And I was like, well, yeah, it's everywhere, dude. Like, you know, there's
we're exporting it.
If
right?
there are, that's what he was saying. He was like, it's being exported here from, you know, from you guys. And I was like, well, actually, it was exported here from like Europe. But I get it, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, and again, he was like, I'm not sure how we're gonna combat this. And I was like, well, you're gonna have to deal with female nature on steroids, because that's all it is. You know, and so yeah, there, and of course he has, like, you know, critical opinions of the West in general because of how he's being introduced to it. And I'm like, well, look, you know, that's not us, but I get what you're saying, you know, like that this is a big problem and we have to fight it. So I get it. Like, I get why there are people in South Korea going, what the fuck is going on? Why did you know, Americans or Canadians or the UK or whatever, why do these people do this to us? And it's like, it's the women, dude. It's like, it's the women.
What just astounded me was learning that the CIA sold the Afghan war to Western women.
Yeah.
Women's rights is what they said. So yeah, we're going to go over and bomb the shit out of a bunch of people, women included, women and children included, because we're bringing them women's rights.
Yep.
And it's like, what kind of logic is that?
You know what? Okay, you want to talk logic. Let's go back to South Korea, right? Okay. Men have, I think it's 26 months of 22 or 26, it's either 2 months over or under 2 years of mandatory military service that they have to provide, right? Like, it's full on conscription. It's not a draft in times of war. It's just like standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what the government used to do, right, was it used to basically say, well, you can use your 26 months or whatever it was, you can get university credit for that, right? You can use that as part of your university when you get out of the military, when you're finally released from your mandatory service. And fledgling feminists in South Korea complained to the government successfully that this was unfair to women. It gave men a head start over their sisters in terms of their educations, right? So these women would leave high school and go straight into university and be 2 years ahead. Now they're 2 years ahead of their brothers who had to go straight into military service or into a job, right?
Sounds freaking believable. They're just the level of
insanity, insanity. It's insanity, because to say that it's unfair to women that when you take men and force them into servitude, right, and then you give them a little bit of a perk in return for that, in terms of their university credits that they need to graduate, okay? And you don't do that for women who don't get forced into service, and you say that women are the victims of that. Women, not men, are the victims of that. It's unfair to women, not men. How does that even make sense? And how it really does give credit and credence to the ability of women to wield social, political, and economic influence on all of our political systems, that they managed to pass that off as something sane to a government and get them to change the fucking laws.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing to do. It's the only just thing to do.
Okay, let's get some more of this in.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right.
I didn't even.
Let's,
All right, let's
let's play some more.
Doesn't happen in other places, but I imagine that was the case. We could go on and on about, you could not, there was no legal concept of rape in the context of a marriage. A wife did
Yes,
not have...
yes, there was. Jesus, fuck.
Language.
Okay, and also,
Jesus,
yes,
rapey fuck.
There was neither.
Language.
If there was no concept of rape, believe me, it was worse if a wife raped her husband. And stop laughing, that happens, and it happens more than anyone's willing to acknowledge. Every single domestic violence survey that actually captures behavior finds a large amount of husbands and male significant others being sexually abused by the women in their lives. So this is not insignificant. Men never had any protections against that, and they still don't. And in fact, what's the best example of how blind we are to that is the story from the Bible that the Handmaiden's Tale is based on. Jacob, if you take a shot every time Jacob is raped through deception and drugging or extorted or prostituted, you're going to be pretty soused by the end of that story. And yet all of that disappears, and it becomes some ridiculous parable about the sexual exploitation of women. Wrap your mind around that. It's exactly the same thing that happened in South Korea. Somehow a story in which a man is repeatedly raped, sexually extorted, prostituted, becomes sexual exploitation of women. That entire part of the story is erased by Margaret Atwood to focus on something that was an incidental detail. We don't even know what the handmaids thought about the whole situation. But we do know what Jacob thought about it. He was not pleased.
Yeah, well, okay. And the idea that there were no freaking repercussions for men who abused their wives, that included sexual abuse, because basically, there was no concept of non-consensual sex within marriage, because the whole idea of marriage was to give basically ongoing future consent. Both ways to sexual relations, right? This is what Iranian family law clearly states, like if either party, like grounds for divorce in Iranian family law is if either party is not putting out on a fairly regular basis, then the other party has grounds for divorce, right? Because you didn't get married to never have sex again. I'm sorry, you didn't, right? Sex is part of the deal. And so basically, if a woman was so hell-bent on not complying, not having sex, and her man had to force her, had to hold her down, had to force her to do it, right? That was against the law. Forcible rape within marriage was considered force. It was considered abuse. It was considered battery, right? It wasn't considered sexual battery. It wasn't considered rape. It was considered battery and force.
Mm-hmm. And grounds for divorce in most societies. as far
Grounds
as we
for
can tell.
divorce, yes. In most societies, at least, maybe not grounds for an annulment, maybe not grounds for divorce, but grounds for a legal separation where the woman can go live back with her family, as happened in the 1400s in Italy, when the canonical church, right, the Catholic Church, did not grant the woman a divorce. But they did grant her the right to a permanent legal separation from her husband, put out an injunction on him from ever contacting her, let her go live with her parents, and the only thing that hindered her from there on out was that she couldn't get married again until her asshole husband died. Right? So it's like there have always been ways of getting redress. There were 3 types of courts in England, right? 3 types of courts: courts of common law courts, courts of equity, and religious courts. Right, where women could get relief from abusive husbands, right?
Yeah, and the religious courts were actually were very efficient, especially when it came to child support. Apparently, I don't know if people know that.
They were. Oh yeah,
no, the religious court was incapable.
Oh, an ecclesiastical court was, and even when it came down to things like really, really tough issues, where the law was clear. All of the property of the marriage belonged to the man, and the woman ran away. She abandoned the marriage without cause, right? And she's pregnant, and she took a bunch of the baby stuff with her, right? The onesies and the bed linens and and the diapers and all of that stuff, right? And her husband went to court to get all that stuff back because he wanted his wife back. And if he left her deprived of all the things she needed when the baby was born, then she'd have to come back, crawling back to him, right? And the courts were like, yeah, that's a dick move. That's a dick move, and I'm calling you on it. And as soon as that baby doesn't need those diapers anymore, you can have them back.
All right, there's 5 seconds left in this clip, and then
okay.
So let me play them really quick.
The legal right to say no to sex. These are the things that they're bemoaning.
No.
What the fuck are you on? No, no, and no.
Everybody had the legal right in the moment to say no. I have a headache. Sorry.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And if your consent was contravened, right? If your refusal of consent was contravened, there were things you could do. You couldn't say he raped me. You could say he physically forced me to do something that I didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm. And then again,
and the man didn't have that because violence against men wasn't a thing under the law.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it technically was. Blackstone's commentary said neither spouse has the right to raise a hand against the other, blah, blah, blah.
But probably in practice, it wasn't really that much enforced. So, and here's the thing. They're framing, right now, he's framing something that's gender neutral as anti-woman. And that's what's so egregious about all of this. It's just this massive, massive lie and blind spot about our world. It's the marital rape law applies both ways. And again, men can be raped too, and the domestic violence statistics that actually look at behaviors find that happens a lot. Possibly, actually, as much as the reverse. More than the reverse. Yeah, okay, fine, we'll do it. More than the reverse. So the evidence that we have available to us suggests that men also need protection against marital rape. And yet you're framing this situation where now women have protection, but men still don't, as somehow, oh my God, well, women got this protection that men still don't have. That's so sexist against women. Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, screw off.
Yep.
Go be smug elsewhere.
I have my
All right.
finger on the language button, but you didn't cross the line there. Okay, I got a super.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. That was good. I got another super chat from Albernator Retro for $2 Canadian, and he says Karen needs to see Aiden Paladin's video on Islam. I don't know if that's a new one. I mean, we have hung out with Aiden a couple times. Anyway, all right. So thank you for the super chat. Let's keep going.
Also, some progress in terms of like equal pay and educational and occupational opportunities.
Birth control.
Some progress?
Oh my God! It's the equal pay thing.
Like, women are getting 70% of the freaking degrees now. And it's legal to discriminate against women. Okay, excuse me. I got a dog bark.
Discriminate against men. It's
Yeah.
legal to discriminate against men. Women are getting 70% of the bachelor's degrees now.
Yeah, well,
Majority of the
for what that's
masters
worth.
and masters and PhDs.
And the
Well,
debt.
leave them. Yeah, leave them to it. It's fine. They
Yeah.
can dig their own graves. It's fine. But you look at equal pay. When you look at equal pay, when you boil it all down into the purest form of analysis, where you get rid of all of the confounds and the differences between populations and all of that, never married women earn more than never married men.
Mm-hmm.
Same work, same hours, same everything, right? Same education. And married women earn slightly less than married men, probably because they took a couple years off when they had kids, right? And it's just like, oh, wow, I'm so shocked. I'm so shocked that, but women still, oh, and then there's the pink tax, and oh my fuck it, can we stop whining already?
Yeah.
Can we please stop whining? You women have it better than men. You have it better in almost every way.
You have it better
I'm
than
sitting
any
here-
man or woman in history. In the history of our species.
I am sitting here on a computer that I didn't have to pay for out of, like, I do work around the house, but I don't earn an outside income anymore, really.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband supports me, and I'm sitting here eating barbecue peanuts on a computer I didn't have to pay for myself, shooting the shit with some people, and that's like my job-ish thing, right?
Yeah.
Other than cooking for him and stuff.
Okay, I just wanted to point something out. Not only are women today in contempt when they talk about this stuff. I mean, when they're just doing their job and doing their life, that's not what I'm talking about. But when women start bemoaning the society that they're in, bemoaning all this oppression, when they live in the freest, safest, most prosperous and comfortable position of any human being in all of human history and pay the least cost for this, they aren't just holding men in the past in contempt, men today who are doing the jobs necessary to maintain their lifestyle in contempt. They're holding their female ancestors in contempt.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole, all of this dialogue about how women are oppressed by not having the vote, it's holding the women that got women the vote in contempt.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why? Because the reason why they got the vote was because the politicians recognized that they took responsibility for the society that they benefited from. They took responsibility for protecting and providing their society. Those women took responsibility. That's why they got the vote. And when women reframe that as oppression, they are spitting on the women that got them the vote. They're spitting on their sacrifice, they're spitting on their hard work, they're spitting on their mentality and their attitude towards the world. They are in utter contempt of the women who came before them. And when they attribute it to feminism, it is just like the cherry on the contempt frickin' sundae. Feminism had nothing to do with it. Whining about what you're owed had nothing to do with it. Women rolling up their sleeves, stepping up and taking responsibility for the world around them and the people around them and the defense of their own freaking society. That's what got women the vote. And that is the attitude that women should have. Not this, oh, what am I owed? No. How do I serve?
That's how you do it.
Yep. So I got a super chow. Thank you for feeding the Badger Chan. And from Masagi Knees for $5. And he says, Sam is such a fucking liar. He also has an extremely punchable face. Well, thank you for that, but...
Language.
All right.
It is pretty punchable.
It is.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, if you want to go through the see if we have any donations.
Yeah, I'll just remind everyone that I am doing my fundraiser to get my story published, The Captive Eye. If you're interested in finding a bit more about it, you can go to feedthebadger.com/IEYE. I really appreciate everybody who's helping me make this happen. It's something that's I guess it's a bit more it's something that helps me keep going. Is this idea of a story about something, a way of approaching the world that isn't quite as toxic as what we're seeing now. But anyway, if you'd like to help support me creating more stories and again, I didn't start this out by making it pro-male or pro-female responsibility. It just sort of landed that way. But if you want to see more stories about those kinds of themes, please go to feedthebadger.com/I and help me out. It's really appreciated because it's definitely writing is my joy. And I'd like to share that with all of you guys when it's ready. So once again, feedthebadger.com/I, and I have a thank you to give to Math Freak 123HBR for $25. Thank you, Math Freak.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's very nice. Okay, shut your whore mouth, Susan.
Also, before we continue, what do you think of just picking this up tomorrow? Because I
have a fireside chat tomorrow.
Oh, okay. What time?
I don't think I can move it. Like at 1.
Allison, are you looking to bail?
Well, my doggo needs a walk. How much more do we have to endure this smug?
Well, there's quite a bit, but I mean, I guess we can do a part 3. I can do it. Can we do Wednesday?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if Karen can do it, that's what I'm really asking.
I'm okay doing it Wednesday. I'm just like an hour and 15 minutes is like really short.
No. We can do another 15 minutes. It's just that I have a meeting with the writers.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I have other things that I'm doing in the community.
Well,
I have to walk.
Well, let's see how far we can get then in this video.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna play. Let me see, 127. I'm gonna jump ahead to 1223 because I'm the one who had to watch this cringe fest earlier.
God.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. No, but hold on.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead. I agree a lot with what he's saying. Imagine if women are only looking at the top 8, 9, 10 of men.
Yeah.
If guys like you just started shaming women, do they? You know who's paying for OnlyFans, right? It's lower quality guys.
Yeah, 100%.
So if high quality dudes who got really nice watches and pull up in a Bugatti, and this woman's like, yeah, I want to come hang with you, and he goes, yeah, what's your body count? And he goes, how dare you ask me that? I don't want no hoe in my car. And he takes off.
Yeah.
Now she's embarrassed. She got shut down. And more women are going to say, if I want a high value man, because only the guys are going to come after me are going to be high value.
So maybe
let's be real here.
Maybe
I'm just pausing there for the banana.
Didn't we see this part already?
No,
I think they're just repeating themselves. But I just want to point out again, because the last time I said this, women can have whatever body count they want if they take equal responsibility for the tax burden of society and the risky jobs, dangerous jobs. If you want to maintain a stable of men willing to do the shit you don't want to do, then you gotta be desirable to men.
Yeah, what they want.
Yeah.
What they want. Otherwise, it's just not going to work long term. But if you roll up your sleeves and do the crap that you don't really want to do, if you're shoulder to shoulder with men slinging asphalt and shit and other stuff, then
Scraping
you don't
roadkill.
have, you don't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You either step up as mothers and wives, or you step up as construction people and soldiers. Make your choice, because you can't have it both ways.
All right, let's keep going.
All right.
Wait, to turn this into the Dreamcast?
Yeah.
It's the Dreamcast now. Let's
But you're real here. As men, we gotta be honest here, bro. We smashing whatever's possible, and if they're bad,
Speak
you're not
for
gonna say
yourself.
no.
Yeah, speak for yourself,
bro.
Let's pause it.
All right, I'm just pausing it there real quick. So
Oh, they're
I
like,
think their
we're
point
smashing.
is that men are not going to be able to, or he's saying that they're not like going to be like willing to sort of like limit themselves. I think that men can exercise that, absolutely. He's welcome to whatever opinion he wants, whatever. But I don't think that's really like.
Well, let
No,
me put something up before we continue, before
Yeah.
we get to the response. This is basically what feminists say about women shaming men in order to abide by or support whatever ideology.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever series of behaviors, I'm not going to have no scrubs or whatever, right? So the idea that men are shaming women because they are not sufficient, like they don't engage in behavior that makes them good partners, or
but
they have bad attitudes, or that's essentially the La Sistra gambit, and feminists do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
To a degree,
yeah.
traditionalists do it as well.
Yes, but okay, but these men who arguably are high status, right? I wouldn't necessarily call them high quality. I would call them high status, right?
Yeah, desirable to a certain breed of woman.
Yes, a certain breed of shallow, hot woman.
Mhm.
Okay, possibly with a high body count, right? I don't know how many virgins at 22 are looking at any of these guys as long-term prospects.
Right.
Right? They're in it to
Up to
pump
0.
and dump. They're in it to pump and dump because they can. Because they can, and they want the action. And like this is the whole thing with the difference between the various aspects of the manosphere. When you're looking at pickup artists, you have to actually, you can't expect pickup artists to shame, not until they turn into Roosh.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, now he's 40, his beard's getting gray, and he's like, well, I really actually want children, and wouldn't it be nice if I could find some chick who wasn't a complete slut, right?
Right.
Like, that's what he's looking at now, right? I want someone who isn't a complete slut, who I can trust to stay with me, because now that I've got all of my freaking wild oats sowed, right? And I've spread my seed far and wide, and I've banged chicks from freaking Denmark to Timbuktu, okay? And written books about it. Now I want to settle down in a traditional arrangement, and there's no women.
Well,
There's
honestly,
no women I want me, right? And these guys are on the Rouge trajectory. They're not going to shame hotties. They're not going to shame thoughts.
Right.
They're not going to shame Instagram freaking models and
they're
OnlyFans
gonna allow the
chicks.
whole-flation to continue. And I think Tim is like saying, well, maybe we can do this to like,
we could
change
collectivize
course.
the sexual marketplace. We could take a collective job action here,
Yeah.
right? We could
more
work
and
to
more I'm
rule,
realizing
right? And it's like,
wisdom.
that's MGTOW.
Mm-hmm.
More and more I'm realizing the wisdom both of like the Roman approach to essentially, if you were too driven by sex, you were considered unmanly in Rome. And then also I guess the Christians sort of take on that, which is it's ungodly. Maybe that was a wise decision.
Yeah.
Because how do you control wholeflation without controlling the men who are encouraging it by fucking everything.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you control women's behavior without controlling men's behavior here?
It is,
and
a
you're
conundrum.
absolutely right, Karen. But the honest to God truth is, I think that any young woman who wants a relationship, a long-term relationship, would do well to steer well clear of men like Rollo. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like
you mean
Karen
Rouge?
saying.
Rouge?
Rouge. Sorry,
well,
Rouge.
yeah, or
Yes.
Rollo. But
well,
yeah.
no, Rouge now might be a good bet. Rouge 5 years ago, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but do people like the thing is that
do people really change? Yes, they do.
People change.
It's
change.
It's not that their personalities change. It's not that their basic temperaments change. But what they want can fundamentally change. What they want out of life can fundamentally change. And when you've fucked your way through like 8,000 freaking whores, okay, and
but you've also fundamentally changed your even as a man, you fundamentally changed your brain chemistry to be triggered more by extremely risky sex.
Yes.
So when you bed down with that,
then you just
20-year-old virgin.
Yeah, you have to find some woman who's willing to do a little spanky in the bedroom, and.
But the thing is that here's the problem. Would that be enough? Risk and variety is something that one woman will never be able to fulfill.
Really, because I do it.
Variety? Like, I mean, I guess if you have an open marriage, perhaps, but
no, not variety.
I really don't want to get into like too much personal details here, but my point is that I think that this guy is now imprinted on some pretty extreme sexual stimulus, and I don't think the Christian virgin, 20-year-old virgin, is going to be able to accommodate that.
Oh, you never know.
That's something to consider.
Well, I don't want to. Yeah, we're a little in the weeds, though, but I do think that it does change not just men, but it changes women too. So I got another super. I got a super chow. Again, from Plain Dane, thank you. Gives us $25. Really appreciate it. And he says, women who engage in promiscuous behavior or pursue polygamous relationships are narcissists that thirst for validation. They desire men to accept their self-centered and hedonistic personalities. Generally, men, particularly those considered high value due to their significant income, power, and social status, do not find these types of women appealing. This is because most self-respecting men would not want to be with a promiscuous woman or participate in a relationship where she introduces another person into their bond, as it shows a lack of love, respect, and value towards him. She's basically telling him, "You're not enough for me." Logan Paul has entered the chat. Moreover, such women disregard the importance of their dating and sexual history in relation to their partner, implying that their own flawlessness grants them immunity from judgment. They want men to think that their shit doesn't stink. They want men to perceive them as faultless entities, which leads to women don't fart. They puff out glitter that smells like happiness, or vanilla. That every woman is a queen, that every woman is a goddess, and that every woman is an ideal 10, even those who look like Gorlock the Destroyer. And I guess he sent another super chow because there's more. So holy shit, dude, thank you so much. So we got $50 so far. $25 more, and he continues, in their narcissism and insecurity, these women shame men who are repulsed by their narcissism, and purity shame women who slut shame and choose not to engage in promiscuity. They struggle to accept the existence of individuals who view romance as something special between a man and a woman, and believe that giving up their virginity should be reserved for someone they truly believe is right for them. They accuse these women of having internalized misogyny, being puppets of the patriarchy, a pick-me girl, and they attempt to shame men who don't want to be involved with promiscuous women by attempting to exploit their insecurities, spinning their standards, and gaslighting them, claiming that their needs are unrealistic, that they're the ones that are insecure because they don't want to be compared to the men of her past, and that their standards are misogynistic, even though the truth is far from misogynistic, because if anything, it's misandrous or misandric. By essentially saying that a woman who has touched too many penises isn't as valuable as one who hasn't, you're implying that a woman who has touched multiple penises is impure. You can even argue that this way of thinking fuels the bias that we have against boys when it comes to male genital mutilation. However, I believe that is a justified stance to not want to date a woman who has ridden the carousel, as it often comes with dirty laundry, emotional baggage, and increased risks to one's health. Yeah, I don't see it as like it's so impure you've touched penises. But I do concern myself with things like STDs, and the baggage that comes with it.
Okay,
so,
baggage and the inability to commit, right? If you've been with like 20 guys and it never worked out, right? Maybe there's a problem with you, right?
Yeah.
And
the other thing is, like, could you imagine getting a resume from someone with like 30 jobs in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
You know, at some point you're like, can you commit to a job? You know, and that's not a stupid thing to that's not a stupid conclusion to come to from a high body count.
But what I want to get across is that once a man gets to a certain age, and it's usually in his 40s, right, where he starts to slow down a little, right? Like, just in terms of sex drive, libido, whatever you want to call it, right? And he actually does have that turnaround in attitude, like in just consciously what he wants, right? The way Roosh V did. Not that I'm going to be knocking on Roosh V's door anytime soon, but because the libido is decreased at the exact same time as the priorities are changing, right? He's not necessarily going to be a bad bet for
but here's the other thing.
A woman who is a decent bet. But he doesn't have any right to demand that she be a virgin, right? Like, that's the thing.
At that point,
right?
no.
Maybe not 50 bodies on her freaking 50 notches on her freaking bedpost, but you know, you might want someone, you know, with a body count that's under 10, you know, who's about your age. A little younger, so young enough to have kids.
Here's my point, and I'm just going to bring this down to sort of practical reality. If there is no actual detriment for a man to engage in the whole-flation economy, in terms of actually being able to settle down later on and create a family, if there's no detriment, then they will continue to engage in
like
the
these guys are.
Yeah,
like
it's like because there's
are.
nothing. They don't think they're losing anything.
Yeah, because they're literally laughing at Tim Pool's suggestion. They're like, "Yeah, we're not going to tell these those no."
From what I've seen, they are losing something. Mm-hmm. They're going to hit the nihilism wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
like Roosh
like
did.
You said, like Roosh did, they're going to hit the nihilism wall, and they're going to realize that they really fucked themselves in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the women. That's why I'm saying that the Roman approach to shaming men who were too sexually focused, or at least guilting them, and the Christian approach to saying that's not godly, there's some sense to it.
Of course.
Because even because it gives men an understanding that their sexual behavior and engaging in the whole inflation economy is detrimental to them, is what I'm getting at. And until you get that across to men, it's just going to continue to happen. But on the other hand, like, our entire system is so screwed by a combination of basically just technology, progression technology, and its impact on our belief systems. Like, I don't know if that's going to even help. But honestly, I appreciate Tim Pool for suggesting it. I do too.
I think that tabling it is you know, that's the best you could hope for. Hey, how about this as an idea?
It's an idea.
And that's probably all he was doing, because Timble does a lot of spitballing when he's got guests on. He just wants to like sort of like take their temperature on things, right?
Throw something out there, and you know, and the fact that they're laughing at him and going like, "Yeah, you got to be fucking kidding me."
Yeah.
Well,
they'll figure it out.
That's totally expected, and they're going to be finding themselves at 40, 45 in Rush's position, living, you know, with his mom and regretting his life choices. So, you know,
well,
at
right
least
now they're
where
enjoying
Rush
the
was.
isolation.
It's where Rush was last time I talked to him. So,
all right, let's. I get another. Oh, okay. I got another super chow, but I think I want to play the next clip first. Yeah, and then I'll read it. So.
So the plan is to save
high value men like you guys.
High value men like you guys.
Not like Tim.
Tough guys.
What you got to do is you've got to shame these women that you connect with after you ask them how many people they've slept with.
Yeah. You know what happens when you start asking women a question like that is they no longer look at you like you are a high-value man. They start to look at you like you're some kind of wreck.
Dude, he's got a Bugatti.
No, but it doesn't matter, does it? Like, that's not the point. The point is that you're saying that you're shaming women. And again, like this would literally, these guys are laughing at Tim Pool, so I'm not sure what. Like, what's interesting is that Sam Cedar,
the guys are saying exactly what Sam Cedar is saying. Yeah, like that's gonna get you laid.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point, Sam. The point is that the ultimate goal is not to get laid. It's not even if the man suddenly says, "Oh, you're not really high value." Believe me, the woman, while she's watching your taillights recede down the street, your value is going to be increasing. It's unfortunate that she won't be part of it, but there you go. So this is bullshit. Like, but you will be seen as more high value.
Yep.
You know, but regardless, both Fresh and Fit and Sam Cedar seem to have the same attitude of, oh, the most important thing in this exchange is that my schlong get into her bun. You know,
I gotta wet my wick.
It's not even like is it really so absurd or evil to shame a woman because she's had too many partners for your liking? I mean, like, it's just having standards, because Tim Pool said, what's your body count? Like, I mean, that's a crude way of putting it, but why should a man just have to accept women as they are no matter what they've done? Like, is it like, why isn't it okay for a man to say, you know what, I'm not into that? And then,
honestly,
you know,
no, it's not, because you're just explaining a desire that you have, you know, and a something that's you know, it's a deal breaker. That's fine. But you know, I want to actually sort of elevate this discourse a little bit, because everybody's talking about body and inflation. What might be even more important is for men to walk away from women who have contempt for masculinity and men in general. And that's something I never hear people talk about. That maybe men should start realizing that you cannot have a relationship with a woman who hates masculinity or wants to use your masculinity as a tool to control you. Yeah. It's never going to be a healthy relationship. You're never going to get what you want from this person. So start calling women out. Like, you know, you believe men are responsible for all the evils in the world. You believe in toxic masculinity, but can identify absolutely no positive masculinity that you associate with men in the same way. And I have these conversations all these time. There are people out there who cannot at all identify, they identify criminal behaviors with men, but they identify nothing in the same way that's positive. That's a horrible attitude to have towards a gender identity or sex identity. You know, and let's talk about that. Like, body count is almost like secondary. Body count may be a fellow traveler to misandry in some cases, but it's not always. Maybe you'll find a happy slut who loves men, you know, and is eventually happy to just settle down with you and do whatever weird kinky stuff, you know. That's fine. But the most likely thing is that you're going to find that person, that woman that's decent, regardless of body count, although again, body count does tend to seem to associate with problems with relationships. You're going to find that woman if she actually appreciates masculinity and manhood and men. Yep. You know, that's going to be that seems to be the thing that's the real crutch of the issue. It's not necessarily body count. Body count, I think, is what is the word for it? It is a flag for a woman who may have developed contempt for men.
Yes.
Or contempt for the process of living with men. Like she enjoys the male body. She has contempt for the way men
the male
are.
Being. Yeah.
The male being. Mm-hmm. So I can see that. I mean, and again, I'm not saying that there aren't happy sluts out there who are like, yeah, I love men. I love just being around them and hanging out and having sex with them, whatever. That's fine. I'm sure there's a contingent of them. But in a lot of cases, the high body count is an indicator that the woman is incredibly fucking shallow, objectifies men. And what I mean by that is only is interested in them physically, has no appreciation for masculinity or the approach that men have to the world or their particular way of being and seeing stuff and how they express themselves. None whatsoever. Actively hates it, just wants a ride and wants to kick him to the curb. That's misandry. Mm-hmm. That's not a person that you want to be around. And the funny thing is that there are a lot of happy sluts, you know, and they find a guy that they really like and that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
They're off the market, you know. But
that was
these
me.
Other women, yeah. You know, these other women, they're not happy sluts.
No.
They're mean objectifiers. And there is a correlation between body count and being a mean objectifier and being a woman who actually appreciates men. Because eventually, even if you're having sex with men, if you're a woman who appreciates men, you find one you like, you live with, and that's it.
Well, it really, I think that the sign of, well, at least in terms of my own personal experience, and so I'm going to get into but I didn't want anybody with a Bugatti. I didn't want anybody with a you know, any kind of like high status markers or anything like that. I just wanted to like spend brief amounts of time with people I found really interesting. And that was most occasionally women, mostly men. And being intimate with them. And like by intimate, I mean like not just the sex, but the actual emotional, psychological...
The intimacy. Yeah.
Connection, yeah. And that didn't mean that I wanted a relationship with them, right? It just meant that it meant something. Mm-hmm. Right? It meant something. It was like people really connecting on multiple levels. In the most vulnerable way possible. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting to know all of those people. But when I was with a man, when I decided I was going to be with a man, and I committed to him, never cheated on my husband. I was married for 15 years to him, had 3 kids with him, on my first husband. I divorced him. I didn't even date for a year after we separated. It was a year after we separated before I even went on a dating website. Because it was like, no, that's not how I operate, right? Meanwhile, all the other women around me are monkey branching from the house they shared with their husband to the one they share with their boyfriend, just like you hauling it directly over the moment they let their husband know, yeah, no, I can't do this anymore, I'm done, right? Took me 5 years to make the decision to divorce my husband. 5 years of thinking it over, right? And I've been with Mike now for 12 years, I've never cheated on him, right? And I wouldn't. And I expect that either, well, the only way we're probably going to break up is when one of us dies. Right? That's basically the plan. And neither of us is going to cheat.
Yeah.
Neither of us is going to step out. So it's like, this is how I live. I'm an honorable slut, right? I wouldn't even say happy slut, just an honorable slut. You don't have to be a happy slut.
I am a dishonorable prude.
Jojo.
Well,
okay, but I just wanted to say, because like I said, I think we need to elevate the discourse, because the real issue, I don't think, is body count. I think
no, it's not. Well,
contempt.
The body count is a red flag.
It's a red flag.
It's a red flag for that kind of exploitive, like, I'm not in this to be a partner. I'm not in this to, like, have anything meaningful between us, right? And like I said, whether it was like a one-night encounter or a friends with benefits thing or whatever, right? There was always something other, right, than free dinner and an orgasm in it for me, right? And it was never with the best-looking men or the most high-status men or the men who could do the most for me or the men that I looked particularly good on their arms. No, it was always with somebody that I connected with emotionally and I found really interesting and all of that, even if it wasn't going to turn into anything permanent. And as far as, like now, I'm with a guy who has a high body count, higher than mine. And we don't step out on each other. It's just not something we do. Like, it's just, we're happy together. We're all domesticated and shit.
I also wonder, I mean, we're talking about how a high body count is sort of a red flag for women. I think it can also be a red flag for self-hatred in men.
Yes.
Just putting that out there.
Oh.
Well, we should, I mean, I don't know if we gotta go. It's like
it's a red flag for some men, then, but
yeah, I think there is some like it's a bit of a big discussion, but
yeah, it is a big discussion. How much more do you want to get done?
Well, a little bit more, and I have super chows, and you probably have some thank yous to give. So let's do the rest of this clip ends in about 50 seconds. And then we can do the rest later. Let's get through the rest of this bit here.
That's the thing. Bugatti. See, these manosphere guys have no idea what women want,
love that
and that's what's amazing. Like,
I just real quick, okay, literally what women want. Like the reason why men get Bugattis is because the women that they end up sleeping with, at least, like the Bugatti, because it's a sign of their status. Literally, Emma Vigland does not know women. Like, she is a woman, but she doesn't know the women that they're attracting. I'll put it that way.
Well, also, like, who the hell is she to speak for all women?
Yeah, who is she to speak for all women?
I don't even know what the hell a Bugatti is.
It's like a sports car.
No, it's a freaking nice car. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We have a dude at our local pizza place, family owned for the last like 50 years, and the son of the owner, he has like a Lamborghini and a Corvette and like a Bugatti, and like he's got all kinds of freaking cars, and they're parked outside that place in our very modest neighborhood. And everybody, and even I'm like, oh my freaking god.
Well, that's why.
Like, Jesus. Again, right? It doesn't mean I want to fuck him. But
I'm married. I have a black 2008 Hyundai Elantra. I'm not trying to impress anybody.
Yeah, but that is a thing of freaking beauty. That is something that even I would be like, okay, can I lie on the hood while somebody takes a picture of me?
Yeah.
Right? Like
no, Bugatti, not a Hyundai.
The Lamborghini.
Honda is the essence of practicality.
No, Hyundai, not Honda.
Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Oh, Hyundai. That's even more practical.
Yes.
Because it's more gutless than a Honda, but it's just
we're
as
achieving
reliable.
levels of practicality that we never thought possible.
No, I owned a Honda till I got T-boned. We owned a Kia until a tree fell on it. Right? And it's like, and now I own a 1997 T-Bird V8 that was free because it was my parents, and then my dad died. So it's like, okay, the height of practicality, that's me. And
T-Bird maybe not so
but
much.
I can drool over a Lamborghini. Even I can be like, yeah, that is a thing of beauty. That is a work of art. That is like a freaking the benchmark of engineering.
Yeah.
That is something stunning, right? I can look at that just like I can look at Angelina Jolie's face and body and say, I'd never want to fuck that, but it's nice to look at her.
Okay, speaking
Anyway.
of things that are nice to look at, but not really, what does this woman have to say about what women want? And incidentally, as a woman, I'm offended by the fact that she presumes to speak for me and also deny the individuality of women.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's hear it.
Okay.
Bugatti, a trip to Bali so you can bang. Who do I know that does this? Does anybody know that? Nobody lives in this world.
Men.
High quality
Nobody
men.
who's
You know what?
in
Actually,
the
I would
field.
find that to be incredibly showboaty. This is probably why Tim didn't get anywhere with me. Sorry, I shouldn't say that.
Really?
Okay. This was a
Okay, who does that? Who does that? Yeah, no
Yeah.
one who's hitting on you.
Well,
Okay.
notice what
No
Emma
one who's
Vigland.
hitting on you drives a Bugatti and is going to take you to Bali to go bang for a week.
No, of course
right?
not. She's super
Okay,
mid, but
And
notice
the whole thing about, this is why Tim didn't get anywhere with me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I think
he
she's
show you
trying.
his
No,
Bugatti?
I think she's trying to suggest that Tim was hoping to get to third
he
base
was
with her
trying
or
to-
something.
He was trying to get into her pants, and it's just
Why
Yeah.
Tim?
I don't think
Well,
Tim's got more self-respect than that.
Yeah, but she was on his
She just
show.
said that
She was on his show, and she, and Tim owned her, right, when she was on,
Mm-hmm.
but she's like, yeah, and Tim was disappointed because I didn't put out, right, and it's like,
This is why
You
male
know-
feminists get accused of shit. This is what I'm talking about. You travel in circles with these women, and they will assume everybody wants them. And so I don't know what happened there, but I don't think Tim Pool was trying to get in Emma Vigland's pants. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it.
I've been around Tim, okay?
Yeah, I've been around him too.
And I've seen him around very attractive women.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And he's just been all business.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
He is all business. Remember, Allison, in 2017, this is blowback, we went to VidCon in California, and there was a party hosted by that Sikh guy. I can't remember his name, doesn't matter.
who eventually lost his mind.
Yeah,
right?
he lost his mind. But all these people were there. Carl was there, and like Vernaculus and a bunch of people. And Tim Pool was there, and at the party, and he didn't drink. He was like all business. He was just there. What?
He gives me that kind of vibe of all business.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that's
mean,
what I was
like
thinking when
I
she
got
was saying
along
this.
with him
Like,
just
really?
fine. I liked him,
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
no,
I
very
mean, like
friendly.
not at all. Like basically what you see is what you
Not
get.
on the make.
Not yet.
Not on the make.
Not on the make.
Yeah.
Not on
No.
the make. Certainly. I don't see it, but
Bunsy King, that's his name, Bunsy King, yes.
I got more vibes of like, maybe feeling out things for like an interesting night from Andy No in Milwaukee than I did from Tim Pool in Milwaukee. Right? And Andy No was
I saw Tim Pool in Milwaukee too.
Suffering a brain injury at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he was like not on the make at all, but he was still putting out, these weak vibes, right? Of, if somebody offered, maybe I wouldn't say no, right? Tim Pool was just like, no. He was like full squirrel.
Yep.
Full squirrel. Yes, that's exactly this kind of busy professional energy. Just, I got my nuts, I gotta put them in a hole.
Yep.
Yeah. But not that kind of hole.
Yeah,
not
so
that kind of hole.
So yeah, Emma, I had to
What?
What?
I gotta prepare for winter. No, I'm just saying that that's the energy he gives, like a squirrel preparing for winter.
That's him. Okay, that's why he's always talking about Civil War and shit too, by the way. He's just always prepped. He's a prepper. But let's play the rest of this clip. You needed to see this because when Emma Vigland slyly suggested, which of course she backs off right away, that way she doesn't actually have to take accountability for saying that or follow up, and no one is gonna say, whoa, wait a minute, right? She just gets to it's so fucking sinister. She puts this little seed out there and then just lets it sit and doesn't have to explain herself, doesn't have to follow up. All now we know that something happened according to her, and she's not going to expand that. So we're all forced to sort of imagine.
He made a move.
Yeah, he may have made a move. We don't even know what made a move means. He could have been like, "Hey, you want to get a drink? I'm going to get into Mountain Dew," right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I actually find that behavior to be a little bit reprehensible. It shows a general kind of commitment to capitalism, to
not property rights.
That would not designate me to or cause me to designate them as a high quality
sounds
man.
like some.
Okay, stop.
Yeah,
all right, because Sam Seder is your hike. Are you actually getting anything from this smug dude? Is he giving you on the regular? Oh, she gets paid.
She gets paid.
Okay,
but capitalism, Brian.
But look at him. He's squirming in his seat. He's so happy that she basically said,
I don't need men like Tim Pool, even though he wanted
I like men like Sam Seder.
I don't like him or his chickens.
Tim Pool wanted to fuck me.
Yeah.
And then Sam Seder's like, ooh.
Isn't that her way of saying that she's a high value woman, by the way?
She's my concubine.
Yeah, but, oh God.
He's preening. He's preening.
Yeah, I know. It's like watching the worst of masculinity and femininity. Because honestly, this is worse than the women who are like, I like the Bugatti. And also, she's full of shit. If men made twice as much as they do now, the rate of marriage would, almost every woman would be married.
Yeah.
Because that's that is the dividing factor at this point. Is men do not make enough money. But the unfortunate fact is that if they did, we wouldn't have enough Earth to supply the materials for the increased demand in consumer goods that would result.
Well, from those women, not from me.
From those women. No, not for me either. But you know what I mean. But for the average woman. So no, you're wrong. The average woman would totally be interested in a man with a Bugatti. Okay? 100%. Especially, in particular, if he had the income to go with it. So you're wrong. But the other thing is that women wanting men who have Bugattis is actually more pro-social than what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is giving this flattery to a man who destroys the identities of other men, who morally and morally and socially is so destructive towards the cooperation between men, towards men understanding themselves and understanding each other. He's actively destructive. He really does. Honestly, he does embody that bull, elephant, seal energy because he is the only one who's allowed to be on the beach, Karen. Yeah. Whereas Fresh and Fit, they're two guys. They may be alphas, but at least they're able to coexist cooperatively together in one space.
Yeah.
And Seder probably rears up and attempts to take chunks out of every other penis that ventures within his his
No
beach.
wonder Matt Bender has such a high voice.
Channel.
Okay.
I gotta
But
find
it's
that sound again because I lost it when my
This is
computer
the
died.
ugliest thing. Like, a woman, it's at least it's functional. Like, I want a man who makes money, who has a Bugatti. Okay, that's like, well, that's a guy who's able to cooperate with other men, able to build things with other men. You know, it's not that bad. At this point, we really need to question the women's material desires because it's going to destroy the earth. But regardless, it's not actually as bad as this, which is I want a man who destroys the social, every other man's social recognition, and embraces a philosophy that denies masculine identity entirely.
Well,
because that's really freaking destructive.
Well, when you look like Sam Seder and you have just the general demeanor and personality of Sam Seder, you could, I guess, do a Charles Atlas, right? Really, try and build yourself up and into something that's, physically attractive to women. You could hit the gym, you could go on a carnivore diet or a paleo diet or something, and really, put yourself together, right? Or you could just be you and earn tons of money ripping other men down. And then you get this bitch and she's passable.
Yeah, exactly. You can either be part of a system that benefits everyone, or you can be part of the system of destroying men's identity. And honestly, from what this might be a complex thing to explain, but it seems like every civilization has a particular way of structuring male identity in order to develop the resources and the protection for that society. So it's sort of like male identity represents the ecological niche of a society and how they exploit it.
Mm-hmm.
And women who are like, oh yeah, we want the Bugatti, at least they're supporting that identity that in turn has constructed the society that we enjoy. Now there's a good sense to say that we maybe need to rejigger this because
scale back on the
consumerism and the materialism, because we're at the point where we want to preserve the earth for future generations. But at the same time, as that isn't like the way to go, isn't this encouraging men who attempt to destroy other men, who attempt to cannibalize other men and other men's identities, and refuse to acknowledge that there's any worth in men or masculinity. The only he is the one good man. He is the one individual who is moral and a man, despite being a man. That's the thing he probably thinks is, I am a moral man. I am the one good man, and I do it despite my masculinity, despite other men, despite manliness, despite manhood. That's what he's thinking. And so he's completely destroying this identity, but this identity is the foundation for how we are productive and how we protect ourselves. So he's not offering anything. Yes, maybe we need to reconsider the old ecological niche that we occupied and had the male identity exploit. Maybe we do need to reconsider it. But this ain't the way forward. Okay.
I think we have, and we've done a very good job of it.
Okay.
All right.
We really have environmentally.
Us?
There's humans. Humans.
Yeah, I mean, we've done fine at this level of demand, but the problem is that we would have to have more resources to be able to feed the reproductive demands of women at this point. Like, women are demanding a certain amount, a certain size nest. Like, the nest keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now the nest that women are demanding is completely ecologically unachievable, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And they're demanding it from men, but ultimately...
It would be made of the scrap left over from 1 million Bugattis.
Yeah.
They're demanding it of men, but ultimately what the demand is going to be placed on is everything else. The environment,
Yeah, well, and then they blame men for ruining the environment, so...
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is that women's demands in order to reproduce at this point are absurd. They're unsustainable, and they need to change. We need another way, another thing that women ask from men in order to be like, oh yes, okay, I'm going to grab you and reproduce for you. Because the size of the nest that they're demanding from men, it's like men are building a nest, right? To attract a woman. Now women want a nest that would literally cost 2 other Earths to build. As collectively, and we can't do that anymore. They need to decide on a different nest, on a different nesting material, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense, and that's why I live in a 987 square foot home that was built in 1952, and I'm never going to move out. And I've told my husband he'll die here one of 2 ways. Either peacefully of old age in his sleep, or screaming, blue murder, because he suggested that we move. I don't want to move. I just want to stay in this house, make this house work, and like I said last time we were on. I did everything that I could to make it work so that my very modest earning husband, when my kids were small, could support the household while I stayed home and raised those kids when they were little.
So the question is, what will women want from men that isn't a Bugatti?
Yeah.
What would be the new alpha, quote unquote, or the new Sigma, whatever. And that's something to think about. I table it. Let's get to the super chow. Sorry, Karen, but
we're at the 4 o'clock time, so we do got to wrap it up. So I'll read the super chows first. Appreciate everybody's donation. So here we go. Plain Dane with the super chow. I saw people talking about NC Clark in the chat.
Essay.
Or super chow.
Super essays.
Essays, yeah, they're very long. I see people talking about NC Clark in the chat, and I just want you to know that NC Clark just does the Badger Chan voices for me. So, just, I'm still in contact with her. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Sawa Grape Sama, that's her name on YouTube now. Plain Dane gives us $15. Thank you, Plain Dane, and says, I should note that I'm extremely anti-MGM, that's male genital mutilation, in case you're wondering. I used to believe that individuals who subject boys to such torture should be burned alive, but I've changed my stance on that. I now believe they should be subjected to steam as their means of demise. This is because I discovered that steaming is a more protracted and agonizing form of death. Well, thank you for that. Anyways, I also believe that male virginity shouldn't be something that's mocked. Male virginity should be held in the same regard as women's. It should be viewed as something valuable and positive, but I'm also realistic, and I know that's probably never going to happen. I know that my idea of future generations growing up in a world where their childhood sweetheart or high school sweetheart becomes their life partner and their first and only romantic experience is a pure fantasy. I believe those days are gone. Like Stan Marsh's money in that South Park episode when he went to the bank to create an account. He hands the bank teller his $100 check his grandma gave him. The bank teller puts his money in a money market mutual fund that will reinvest the earnings in foreign currency accounts with compounding interest, and it's gone. Then he gives us another $15, thank you, and says, I recognize that these are my personal views on subjects such as love, virginity, monogamy, procreation, pair bonding, neurogenesis, and memory encoding, but I believe that these views are better for society because they put value on sex and procreation, and they emphasize the importance of men and women as well as the relationships between them. I'm not saying we need to go to the Amish or Mennonite route or adhere to any religion. I myself am an atheist, but I believe we should value sex. It's a powerful thing, and with great power comes, spelled in a funny way, great responsibility. Thank you for that. And Plain Dane gives us $5 again and says, one last thing, don't people like Sam tell others not to kink shame? I guess my kink is low body counts and ideally virgins. Thank you for that. well, those are people like Sam Cedar will claim that they're not judgmental of men's like sexuality, but they're the most judgmental. I mean, they're the ones that'll call you. They'll make fun of you for being a virgin. I wouldn't worry about like the PUA types doing that because they're just sort of showing their ass when they say, you know, I'm red pill, but I also value women for the attention they give me. So, okay, or I read my value as given to me by women is a better way to put it. Ergo Proxy gives us $10 and says, Fresh and Fit are playing the game as created by women. I prefer not playing that game under those rules, but it is what it is. I thought Sam was the person with the worst take in any circumstances, but then he got that co-host. Wow, she's bad. Then in parentheses it says, Brian, can you play my Nick Cage scream, please? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have it in the soundboard yet. Wait, actually, maybe it is in here somewhere. I forgot where I put it. And I'm sorry about that. Maybe it's under Rage. The Rage folder? Sorry, man. I don't see it. I don't want to waste too much time. But I do have it in here somewhere. I'll have it prepared next time. Tim Pool is a Sigma. Gives us $5.
Beta!
And says, he's all business all the time. Does he have the Sigma male grind set? Perhaps. He also, I don't know about his personal life, but I do know that there was a woman in his life, and I think they broke up, but that would have been like at least a year ago. So he's probably on the hunt, or he's found someone else. I mean, I don't see how somebody like that wouldn't have, but there you go. Anyway, next we have Richard Bier, who says he's John Cena for $5.
And his name is John Cena!
And he says, I am intrigued that Emma wasn't expressing surprise that Tim has electricity and indoor plumbing in rural West Virginia, because her comments about being offered sushi is indicative that such foods should be available beyond a certain distance from coastal metropolitan areas and only be available where only the correct persons are making such food items with which such people wouldn't dare to live in West Virginia. Special shout out to Sam's mom, and there are fewer than 1,000 people who even own Bugattis worldwide. Some time ago, the status car was a Bentley. Yeah, well, that's always changing too, right? So, and thank you, Richard. And then lastly, we got another super chow from an anonymous person for $10. They didn't say anything. So thank you for that. And then I got super chats. So Senior Sticks gives us $2 and says, when is HBR getting into the YouTuber boxing game? I guess you're talking about like when people get into fights, you know, like I think Chris Raygun did a match against somebody a while ago. I mean, I would do it. Lindsay says she'll do it. I'll box for charity. Why not?
Oh, that was hilarious. She immediately piped up. I'll do it.
Yeah, Lindsay was like, I'll do it. Yeah, no, I'll do it. I mean, why not?
No hesitation.
I think I'd get, you know what? If you just show up, I think that you'll get a tremendous amount of respect. Even if you get you get absolutely devastated. The fact that you showed up, right? That's what sportsmanship is, right? I would do it. I mean, I would hope that people would like fund my training and shit, but yes, I would do it. Or Lindsay would do it. If you want my wife to do it, we can send in Truckosaurus. And I'm sure that she will get it. I mean, she had to box against a woman. What's Barbara for you to see doing right now? Who's a woman? Anna Kasparian. Maybe you could square off against Anna Kasparian.
Oh Jesus! Lindsay would just like one hit and Anna would vaporize.
Yeah, I know. Lindsay's like Mrs. Sandman. Okay. Anyway, then so yeah, she can fight shoe on head, but don't knock her wig off. $5 Canadian. This is from Albert Native Retro. Thank you, Albert. Allison, you need to watch Fresh and Fit before you call them alpha. They definitely aren't. They're no better than Andrew Tate. He doesn't like them, but I don't think that Allison was actually saying they're alpha. We don't really know. Right?
I honestly, I don't. I use the term alpha very like.
Oh, tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Maybe not tongue in cheek because that sounds a little bit, whimsical. It's more like I'm very skeptical of the term. I'm okay with people using it, and I will use it since they probably describe themselves as alpha. But whatever. I'm not gonna be super devoted to that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one.
That's it. That's all of them.
One.
I read them all.
Okay, then I will do my thing.
Do your thing. Are there any thank yous? Are there any thank yous?
No, unfortunately. Oh gosh, darn it! Graydon Doors got in.
I know he got another one in there. I'm sorry.
I think I swear
it's always
he does this
why do you do that? Why? Okay. Graydon Doors gives us $10 and says, interesting fact, one of the inspirations for the lyrics of the 80s pop song Voices Carry was about a male friend of Amy Mann who told her that his girlfriend didn't like him displaying any affection towards her in public. It's probably what inspired the part, hush, keep it down now, Voices Carry. Amy Mann has performed that song in recent years to promote Me Too. Well, that is interesting. The Me Too thing.
Okay. All right. So I just want to remind everyone that I do have my fundraiser for my novel, The Captive Eye, open at feedthebadger.com/I. If you want to help out, it's really appreciated because it's definitely something that keeps me going and able to continue to do this work. It gives me a sense of hope. So feedthebadger.com/I for stories that are not anti-male, shall we say. And if you have anything you want to tell us after the show is over, if you want to give us a tip because you enjoyed the commentary, the show topic, you want to give us a new show topic, you want to just thank us for existing, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And you can send that there, and we will take those messages and we will read them out at the next show that is most applicable. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. I think Karen may have fallen asleep or wandered off, so back to you, Brian.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up there. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we have discussed on today's show. We still have a little ways to go, so maybe we'll just finish it off next week on Wednesday or something. And please share this video because sharing is caring. You'll find a link to the original video in the description if you want to check it out. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.